Mouthwashing is unlike any game I've played before. When an untrustworthy main character time skips, leaving you to figure out everything on your own, and a surprisingly refresh of the horror that isn't just always in your face. Mouthwashing is a game that will have you leave feeling sorrow and yet glad that you are able to experience a work of art like this. I've in fact already made a video on this game's publisher before. Critical Reflex has helped release Buckshot Roulette on Steam, and when I covered the game in the past, that was before there was even available on Steam, and obviously before the point there was a multiplayer aspect to the game. Back when my mic sounded like I had the gain turned all the way up. Good times. Another big name in the indie space that was published with Critical Reflex was No I'm Not Human, a game where you're almost trapped inside your house and are greeted with newcomers wanting to shelter themselves inside the safety of your home. And as the name implies, the people wanting to stay at your place can be, well, not a human. So pretty strong lineup so far. Polly was even mentioned in a game called Gamble with Your Friends.
Polly says, when life gives you lemons instead of all of black.
What?
How cute. Once the game is booted up, you'll be met with a strange sight. A man, half dead, lying on a blood-soaked hospital-like bed, with a TV screen alongside him depicting a sunset over the ocean. Before even starting the game, we are met with many questions, but to answer them, we must begin the journey. Learning our crew's ship name is the Tulpar, a part of the Pony Express long-haul division, with a crew size of 5 members and a planned shipment duration of over 382 days, and with 147 days passed on the trip already, we are left with one more side of text. I hope this hurts. Being a group of space truckers, whatever they're hauling must be important if 5 people are tasked with over an Earth year's amount of time, not including the way back if it's not a one-way shipment, and with a glitch transition into 0 days before the crash. The computer instructs us to turn left in order to avoid impact with an unknown mass. However, with the only option of steering right. We ignore the instructions and are warned with an extreme warning, being docked 4,000 credits from our crew package for failure of navigation. Leaving the driver's seat, we head into the locker and grab the emergency key, so then we can disengage the autopilot. And for anyone at home wondering if this is good or bad, this is really bad. Like, why would we voluntarily doom the ship? Ooh, big red button. Press. With crash imminent, we head into the hallway of the ship, passing many safety posters with my main man Polly as the mascot of Pony Express. With such phrases as Polly says, "Giddy up, Galaxy!" Continuing on down the hall, we are met with a disturbing Polly with a baby's crying sound echoing, foreshadowing what's to come. With the ship getting closer to impact, the ship starts to break down, with steam bursting from pipes, warning lights and a disfigured Polly waiting for us behind a door. Something tells me whoever we're playing as is starting to have a little bit of a breakdown. Approaching a locked door, we turn. And fade into white as the ship makes impact. 2 months after the crash. With the character's name being revealed, we are playing as Jimmy, the co-pilot for the Tulpar, and are met with the medic aboard, Anya, the know-nothing, kind-hearted intern Daisuke working with the cynical, rough-as-guts mechanic Swansea. The only thing worse than Dan is not getting paid. Having parts of the ship under lockdown, some of the doors are locked, but Anya says they should have an alternative access code, but only the captain can use them as you need to use the code scanner. Jimmy declaring that he's the captain now as we were the former co-pilot. With Jimmy tasked to find the code scanner, taking over the role of Curly, we say hello to our corporate overlord Polly.
Polly says, another day in paradise. Yay!
And find out that the installation foam was automatically discarded when the hull made contact, protecting the crew but adding some difficulties in the ship. Finding Anya in the medical bay, she says Curly won't keep still, and she can't handle the pain that he's going through, finding it too hard to be the one to give him painkillers. You did make it through nursing school, right? Pony Express sure does know how to cut corners if nothing else. Making an obvious snide remark to Anya, she informs us that the code scanner must still be in the cockpit. Anya wants Jimmy to help with Captain Curly. Right, Curly's medicine, as Curly is no longer the captain. People have to be worth their titles. Don't you think, Nurse Anya? Already showing that Jimmy has no empathy towards Anya.
Begone, filth. I've no need for you, filth. Begone now.
Then saying he'll feed the medication to Curly, finding Curly in the same position as the main menu. His design is both horrifying and yet extremely iconic. Having the damage done to Curly's face makes him unnerving to look at, feeling sorry for him and somewhat scared of him, and not being able to speak or even move around. The only thing keeping Curly alive is the crew. Opening Curly's mouth for him, we force feed him the painkillers. I can't bear to listen. Excuse me, sorry. With Anya leaving, we proceed. The The sound design is extremely well done in this game, to the point where they made 15 different sounds just for footsteps, creating separate tracks that were randomly overlaid in the game, with stuff like shoes hitting the ground with layers of shoelace sounds, fabric, movement, or even a jacket rustling. These may sound small, but when a lot of the game is walking around, it can help make the game feel a lot more immersive. Walking past the utility room, Swansea is standing out front, not letting anyone inside as he says there's a solid wall of foam, but breaching past the protective foam layer is lights out for all of us, saying that only he's allowed to work on it.
Then there's that teeny bopper only thinking with his downstairs long nose.
Not even allowing his intern Daisuke to help. Daisuke wasn't even taken note of as the ship as a whole, to the point where there's only 4 cryopods on the ship. So if anything happens to go downhill, the intern Daisuke will be least prioritized in the eyes of Pony Express. Finally reaching the cockpit, we find the aftermath of the accident that was caused on purpose and grab the code scanner. Scanning the code and entering the code, we open the hull. Just a glitch 7 days before the crash. The story unfolds non-linearly, almost keeping you disoriented by jumping around time, and giving you more than one person's perspective, making the story being told feel unreliable at times. Are you listening? Yeah, damn. I'm so sorry. We're back in the medical room, playing as Curly having a psych test, and having Anya say we gave the same answers as last time. We know this is a common task that gets done for the crew, but even though they seem to be done often, Curly doesn't seem to open up about much. Even having Anya say, I do wish you'd open up a little more. These evaluations aren't just about you. Almost foreshadowing what's to come for the crew. Anya having to talk to Jimmy next, the main guy we play as, we learn that he has found himself sexually excited to the sight of cartoon horses. So, there's that to unpack, I guess. Finding a posted note of Yimpy, we are tasked to talk to Swansea. With the blue sky visible on the TV screen, we find Swansea and Daisuke. Having Daisuke try to fix the vent, he accidentally triggers the emergency foam and finds himself stuck.
Because you're talented in all the wrong ways.
Saying that he would have dealt with the problem, but only the captain is able to unlock the axe case. So unlocking the case and getting the axe, we free Daisuke. Youch! Oof! Strong stuff, huh?
Get it through your goddamn thick skull. This vent is strictly off limits.
Heading the axe to Swansea, we talk to Jimmy, having him say Anya has deemed us as sane, and then we would do his evaluation. I want to hear more about those cartoon horses. Is that something you were born with, or is just a recent development?
Alright, shut up.
Heading to the cockpit, we find a seemingly endless staircase, heading down and find another door, and then we fall into an endless blood ocean. For the starry sky, we wander the void. Just to have emergency signs appear, with broken ladders panically going forward, the sun rises. Turning the screen white, we head into the only thing visible, a door. Opening it, we enter the cockpit. We are able to give Jimmy his psych evaluation. And that's all of them. Done and done. By continuing the conversation off record, Jimmy opens up about being annoyed having everyone always saying how great of a captain Curly is. How come it always seems like you're standing on the edge of a bridge with your feet in cement? This sentence is probably the most relatable thing I've ever heard, by the way. Having done a job for so long and wondering if there's more to life, wondering if this is all it will ever be, Curly not being sure if this is what he really wants to be doing, if this job is enough, if he should stay here because he's successful at it or find something else. Just being a long-haul freighter captain. And that's bad. Curly almost having an existential crisis, only being able to talk about this to Jimmy, as if he had brought this up to Anya, it would have been on record. Wondering if he's even in the right line of work. Having Jimmy ask, you think this might be the wrong ladder altogether? Being a reference to the broken ladders in the endless ocean. But the conversation gets cut off as an important message comes through. Collecting the paper, we go to read the message, just for it to cut away into us being in darkness, with letters scrambling to spell out something we can't yet understand. We're in the hall room, and walking deeper in, a TV turns on. Changing the channel a few times, we are met with an advertisement for "2 months after the crash. This is mouthwash?
Unfucking believable.
There's gotta be like an ocean of the stuff in here. The crew finding out what they've been hauling for over a year, they're understandably upset, spending over a year of their lives just for a shipment of mouthwash, which Anya even says the sugar content is so high that it offsets any potential as a disinfectant. With 14% ethanol, Swansea chugs it down without a second thought, throwing away over a year of his life just to deliver mouthwash.
Ooh-wee. Oh. Shut up, I'm just an old codger taking care of his dental hygiene. You hear that? That's the sound of 15 years of sobriety popping like a cyst. A glorious, magnificent, red-hot cyst.
Having Daisuke say anyone could get drunk off the mouthwash and Jimmy saying it could even kill you in the process. Swansea was actually sober for years, and this breakdown in this moment makes his actions much more heartbreaking. The team behind the game wanted the crew to have a miserable way to deal with their problems. The only other options they came up with were hand sanitizer and rubbing alcohol, but the team thought mouthwash was the worst and most absurd option. Gameplay-wise, there's actually not that much, in the sense of adapting a skill and finding that craft. Not really having any replay value, normally that would be a bad thing, but instead having the same effect as a dreadful movie like The Mist. When watching it the first time, it will have you leaving the movie never able to forget that experience. I feel like mouthwashing has a very similar effect, only really replaying it just to dwell in the artistic misery we put ourselves in, or, you know, getting all the achievements, but that's breaking the fourth wall a little too much. Another game I recently played was How Fish is Made, by the same team of mouthwashing, and this game scared me when I was little, to the point where even now I have a massive phobia on parasites. Playing as a fish, we are met with a rustic vent-like area, and with one question: up or down? What will you pick? The blessed up option or the whimsical down option? Well, it doesn't matter. Welcome to the illusion of choice. Finding ourselves wanting to survive any way we could, only to end up in a freshly made sandwich. But not before the reason I hate parasites so much shows up. This little cutie is known as a tongue-eating louse, and as the name implies, they eat the tongue of the fish and take place of said tongue, getting first dibs on anything the fish finds to eat.
Together forever.
Misery.
Not too bad until this little fella shares his little song, showing meat still moving after it's been cut, parasites, and just gross stuff. Pretty much what you think of is there. And little me was not very happy he saw this when he saw Markiplier play this game many years ago. But playing the DLC, we can find our good friend Curly, and yes, we do consume him. And the best part is, both the game and the DLC are free. So would I recommend playing the game? No, it's gross. But in the end, that's the food chain we have made.
Round and round as the nature flows, it's like one big ring.
6 days before the crash. We jump back a week after we received the note from corporate, and along our way to tell the crew, we get a surprise birthday party. Pony Express only allows the crew one commercial birthday per trip, wanting to seem like a way to give comfort to their employees, but in reality they're just wanting to take away their rights, to the point where they even hold back sweetener from the crew, only allowing the captain to use it with their code scanner. So, being the captain, we are tasked to make the cake for our own surprise birthday party. Hooray. Sitting by the table, everyone wants Curly to make a speech, but instead we inform the crew of the note we received, saying that Pony Express is out of business and that everyone will now be out of a job. Swansea almost expected this to happen, under distress, saying that she doesn't have any money saved and needed this job to get into medical school. Daisuke in shock doesn't say anything, and Jimmy just lashes out on everyone. Classic Jimmy. I can go back to my, how'd you put it, struggle of a life? Anya never got into medical school because she's, well, let's be real. And how many employment years Swansea got left in him? Daisuke will be fine. Mummy and Daddy have him covered, so there's that at least. But you, headed for bigger and better, right? Curly not meaning any of this to be personal, but with moments like this escalating, it can feel like that's the only way to take it. Having Jimmy say he's wanting to just leave everyone behind, like leaving dirt behind once our boots are clean. Jimmy even says the only reason he told the crew this way was because he thinks Curly could say it in a way that would still make him out to be the hero. Let's just have some fucking cake, Props to the Twilight crews of the Tulpar. Props to our new captain and his new prospects. Now being tasked with cutting the cake, we bring the knife back and forth, slicing down, glitching forward to 3 months after the crash. Jimmy awakes to hearing Curly crying out in pain, echoing throughout the Tulpar. Going to check on him, we need to check if Anya has fed him his painkillers yet. So finding her in the cockpit, she's talking to Swansea. We find her crying, not like Jimmy would care anyway, having her say she forgot to give Curly his meds. Jimmy rudely insists on doing it again. We leave the two and Swansea's new companion the axe to feed Curly his meds. Come on, stop with the noise. Damn it, I know what everyone is thinking. The way they look at me. What could I even say? And then, what would she do? Damn it! Here we are now, me in the driver's seat. Thanks for that. Open up. I hope these make you feel fucking better. However, leaving Curly, we glitch into another jumble of words, being another dreamlike state. We are met with a darkened room, only to be lit with the emergency screen. We sit at the table with Curly and a subpar cake, because the subpar stuff is what makes the good stuff, well, good. I thought it many times. Is this what peace feels like? And is it good enough? If I'm being real, it certainly isn't the best. So all I can do is try and make my life one I'm not trying to run from all the time. Sometimes I'll be promoted, buy a house, fall in love, but other times I'll just have some awful fucking cake with my friend. Right now, that sounds pretty brilliant, yeah? Asking if Jimmy will cut the cake for him, as, well, Curly doesn't exactly have any hands. We are tasked with finding a knife and are met with piles of empty mouthwash bottles, and the ship trashed and a sadly dead Polly on the ground. Going to the cockpit, we find the trusty axe, and have Curly's judging eyes displayed on the monitors and are told to feast. So, heading back to the common room, we find Curly laid out on the table, and with only one option, we, Jimmy, knows what must be done. But before Jimmy fully uses the axe, the game glitches to 4 months after the crash. Checking on the crew, we find Daisuke nearly passed out lying on the floor. How many have you had? Those things will kill you before anything else? I know. My mum found this internship for me. Such a slacker, she said. I don't know. I just never knew what I wanted to be. Never good at anything. Total screw up. We're not done yet, Daisuke. I just hope she doesn't blame herself. Please. Just take it. I don't want to look at this stuff anymore. Having the crew's mental state only being held on by a thread, if even that. We check in the common room and find Anya holding a bottle too, asking her if she's thinking about drinking it too. She says yes, but saying it would probably make her just feel sick and wouldn't fix anything, as much as she'd like to, and that some of the medical supplies are also kept in the locker in the hallway, but only bringing this up now as she didn't think that it was reachable before with the foam. But after thinking about it, the locker could be reachable if the foam was cleared carefully enough, and if nothing else, it's a good excuse to get the axe off of Swansea. Speaking of which,
Jimbo, El Capitano, the man with the plan.
are you done? I need that.
This old thing? This was entrusted to me by a previous tragically inclined leader. Big responsibility. But you know all about that, huh?
I'm going to try and get some more painkillers. Do something useful, you know?
Oh, I heard all about it. You're looking to pull the plug on this party early.
I'm trying to save us.
Take matters in your own hands, eh? Be my guest.
Collecting the axe from the newly broken screen, we head to the foamed up locker and chip away at the foam, finding more painkillers and some isopropic alcohol, just to get jump scared by Anya standing right behind us. Oh fucking Christ. Saying she's glad we were able to clear the locker, and that she hates to ask again, but again wants Jimmy to give Curly the meds, saying it still makes her feel nauseous, just to snap at her saying he's trying to fix everything. Having the game flash to the player, take responsibility, but ignoring it, we head off to find the code scanner, figure out the door's code, get the axe, and give Curly his medicine, giving an organic way to tell the player what to do without having it just pop up on screen without any real world building. It's a really nice touch. Having Jimmy say that he's the captain and has to take responsibility on the ship, and the game again flashes take responsibility. Having Jimmy treat Anya with no respect, he demands her to make sure Daisuke doesn't choke on his own vomit, and he leaves her and goes to feed Curly the painkillers, and repeats a phrase that Anya had said earlier. Our worst moments don't make us monsters, huh? You were a good captain, Curly. And you'll be one again. I'll get us both through this. Leaving Curly again, we glitch to 6 hours until judgment. Hiding inside the cockpit, we close the lock and have Swansea angrily try and break down the door. We panically try and grab some rope and a metal pipe to close off the door more, just to have Swansea break the glass and open the door, only to again have another glitch transition the 2 days before the crash. The team behind the game wanted the player to feel extremely disoriented during parts of the game, and to keep the player on their toes at any given moment, and I think they did really well, with each transition having you ask more questions than what's being answered at times. We play as Curly again and talk to Anya, sitting by the TV depicting a night sky. If you look really, really close, you can see there's a dead pixel in the upper right corner, pretty much telling us that she's looked at this screen often, and then asks Curly why Pony Express put a lock on the medical room door but not the sleeping quarters, with a flash frame telling us it's for safety. But with her concern and the fact that she presumably spends sleepless nights staring to the screen of the night sky, spawns the thought that something might have happened to her. But before we can learn anything else, we are jumped back to Jimmy again, being 5 months after the crash. A panicked Daisuke tells us that Anya is locked inside the medical bay, asking if there's any way they can open the door or if there's any tools around to open the door with, only to learn that the door isn't stuck, it's locked. Anya had locked the door in an emotional panic. I always believed our worst moments didn't define us, didn't make us beyond repair. You think I wanted this either? Make no mistake, this isn't my worst moment, far from it. This is the best decision I'll ever make. Open the door. I'll take care of it. Realizing that Anya is in there with Curly, Jimmy and Daisuke, worried what she might do to him, they head to the utility room, planning to use the broken down vent to get into medical room, only to have Swansea not let anyone inside.
Off limits. Hey Peter, off limits.
Still treating Jimmy with no respect, even giving him nicknames to show him how much Jimmy's role as captain means nothing to him, saying going into the utility room is full of foam and one wrong move and everyone would die. Still persistent on getting in there, the drunken Swansea wants to ignore their pleas and wants to come up with a name for the rock they crashed into and where they still reside. Having Jimmy say there's no point in dealing with Swansea, another glitch transitions us into 8 hours until judgment. We surprisingly find Daisuke badly injured lying on the table, having Jimmy say that he can fix this.
Why do you keep fucking saying that?
Swansea asks if we have that disinfectant alcohol that is kept in the medical locker, to then have Jimmy say, tell him the cocktail he made for him was spiked with it.
What the hell are you talking about?
Alright, you don't know that yet. But nonetheless, Jimmy then blames Swansea for this happening.
Useless, you goddamn fucking idiot.
Then saying there must be another type of disinfectant on board. So, searching the ship, a bleeding glitch transition is inside the medical room and we find the vent is open. This is where Daisuke got injured. Running down the stairs, we find a gravestone with a hibiscus flower on it, symbolizing Daisuke and his shirt, and also the flower often symbolizes friendship, love, and beauty. But using the code scanner on the gravestone, it vanishes and opens a blood trail into an infinite staired room that every Pony Express ship has. We all know this. Following the trail, we are met with a message: be quiet. A blind beast, aimless and restless. You can't run from it. With screeches echoing throughout the newly entered room, we slowly move forward, only to have an invisible entity attracted by noise come right up to us, only visible with the code scanner. This is a nightmare manifestation of Polly from what I gathered, and ignoring the note and making sound when it's near, it will kill you. So continuing on, moving only when we have an opening, we reach the end, and find Polly holding a bottle of mouthwash. We come back to the injured Daisuke and attempt to use the mouthwash. And then, the game glitches back to a healthy Daisuke 5 months after the crash. Saying the vent in utility connects to medical. You see where this is going. Swansea is still not letting you go inside the utility room, so Jimmy has the bright idea to roofie Swansea. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I think this Jimmy fella isn't that great of a guy. Could be wrong though. Saying to Daisuke he'll be fine, giving off the impression that he's done this before. But without any other ideas, the intern Daisuke agrees to drug his mentor and grab his keys. So heading back to the kitchen, we're able to use the same machine we made the cake with to make a cocktail. With a little of this, a little of that, some isopropyl alcohol that I'm sure we won't be needing in the future to help someone, and done. We hand over the drug cocktail to Swansea and fade out, and then find him blacked out on the floor. We get his keys and let Daisuke know that he'll probably be fine. Probably. We unlock the door and then... Wait, wasn't this meant to be full of foam? Yep, that's right. Swansea has been lying to the crew this whole time, and with all the cryostasis pods broken except for one. I can't believe Swansea managed to clear out all the foam from here. Oh, Daisuke, I love you. Gold star. Having Swansea never let Daisuke inside the utility room after the crash. It needed to be handled delicately. He said I have way too much athletic strength in my arms. I would have just torn right through the foam. I was like, damn, makes total sense. Bummer. You know what? 2 gold stars. That boozed up bastard has been biding his time until he can save himself. Thinking that Swansea was going to use it in order to attempt to save himself with the help of Pony Express, leaving the rest of the Tulpar crew to die. But with Anya still inside the medical room, we get the willing Daisuke to climb in the vent. Whoa, check out those sparks. I'd hate to imagine how gnarly it would look on the inside. You could make it through. We need to try. So Jimmy gaslights and forces Daisuke to climb in the vent, even saying captain's orders. See, it's not that bad, right? Anya? What did you do? Only just making it into medical bay, he finds Anya, and then we glitch back to when everything was nice. One day before the crash, with one goal, find the gun. Don't need to tell me twice. So, going into the cockpit, we find Anya asking her where she put it, saying being let go isn't a reason to hurt yourself. Yeah, I bet you didn't think that's why we needed the gun. As our nurse, you never got psych evals. I should have thought of that. You could have come to me if you were feeling stressed. What would you have done? Anything. Anything. You, the crew, you're all my responsibility. I told you so over and over, yeah? I'm not going to hurt myself. You know the gun is in a safe case, I can't open it, but I hid the case itself. Tell me where it is. None of this has to be on our performance log. We'll figure it out together. I'm pregnant. You're what? Who would you, Captain? I told you. Listen to me. We can fix this. I've known him for a long time. I'll talk to him. Curly not giving the gun to Anya to protect herself, she hid it, in order for Jimmy to never get his hands on it either. And as it sounds, Anya was sexually abused and became pregnant from the event, foreshadowed at the start of the game with the baby crying sounds. Her not being looked after by the crew and not being able to talk to anyone, she feels trapped, and being the only woman aboard would feel even more isolated. This game takes mental health very seriously and plays it right. In moments like this, you wouldn't just get mad and try and kill someone like in a movie. It feels real. She's in shock. She feels isolated. Having the captain as Jimmy's close friend also doesn't help the situation, but leaving the room, it glitches back to 6 hours until judgment. With the mouthwash used as disinfectant on Daisuke not working, being foreshadowed earlier by Anya saying the sugar content would offset any potential as a disinfectant, Swansea attempts to comfort Daisuke.
It's alright, Daisuke, calm down. This line of work, you could have never become like miserable old Swansea. What a tragedy. Decades of hauling ass for Pony Express, big mud bruiser with all those shiny tools. This is where it got me. The good life, huh? I thought you were dumber than a can of paint, always chewing my ear off about nothing. Useless ray of goddamn sunshine. Not an ace student, career workhorse, or a force of ambition. Just a damn good kid trying his best. You could have taught an old fool like me a lot.
Telling the injured Daisuke to close his eyes, Swansea unfortunately knows what needs to be done. Jimmy calling Swansea a monster and yet again saying he could have fixed things, blaming the crew for everything that's going on, oblivious to what's really happening.
It's over. End of the fucking line.
Saying Daisuke won't suffer anymore because of Jimmy's delusions. But Jimmy turns it back on Swansea, telling him he knows about the cryopods and utility, saying he talked to Anya thinking he's been lying to her too. Only to have Swansea agree he has been talking to Anya.
But it was her telling me all sorts of things instead, wasn't it?
Hinting at Jimmy. He knows what he did, but with no hope, he gives up, saying he has everything he wants on the ship. From my guess, just wanting to drink away the sorrows until he eventually dies, saying to Jimmy to get in the pod, and if he gets found, he can tell whatever story he wants. Knowing that the selfish captain, Jimmy, wouldn't put his crew above himself. We stand up and are tasked with getting the gun, but as Jimmy this time. Opening the medbay door, we find Anya's body lying on the ground. She overdosed, using Curly's pain meds. This would have been seen before, but the glitch effect that was happening in medical room would have blocked it off. But unlocking the case, we get the gun. opening the door, Swansea charges at us just to glitch back to the day of the crash. Having Anya's death almost being worthless, not even commenting on it, being constantly treated as a lesser and in death as nothing.
Nothing at all.
While not being properly qualified for the job, Jimmy will constantly make snide remarks at her, belittling her, wanting to make a point of how little she really means to him, even sexually assaulting her, having anything she says just pissing him off.
What exactly do you think you're doing?
I'm asking for pepper.
Like hell you were. What was that?
I don't know what you're talking about,
You
Howard.
trying to insult me?
The scene when Anya asks why the sleeping quarters don't have locks on them but medical bay does, is her hinting that something happened. After the crash, the crew are forced into sleeping in the lounge area, but Anya's bed is normally kept tidy, only sleeping in medical room. My guess is she only sleeps in the lounging room when forced to, but still having some form of defense. Polly.
Polly says, are you working hard? Or hard are you working?
When walking past Polly, his motion sensor will trigger, making him say one of his voice lines, alerting Anya if someone is near her. I'm sure it's hard enough for Anya being the only female on board, but also having someone like Jimmy in close quarters, and not to mention she herself doesn't have someone to talk to about her problems, unlike all the other staff members, with Anya being the therapist. Having Curly comment on the matter, saying that he should have thought of that, and she could always talk to him. Anya complimenting Jimmy throughout the game wasn't her really meaning it. She was mostly just trying to keep his spirits high, because if he became angry, she would fear that he would just take it out on her. If you notice, all of Jimmy's tasks were actually suggestions from Anya, using her psychological background to her advantage. But in the end, Anya ended her life with an overdose, being the only way she could see out, as she wanted to use the gun on board, but without the code to unlock the case, she used the pills used to help Curly deal with his pain. Knowing that Swansea saved the cryopod for Daisuke, she knew that Daisuke would want her to be saved instead, encouraging her plan to overdose. We find the still alive Anya nearly in front of the medical bay bed, saying she told Jimmy, but as you probably have guessed, he didn't show any signs of caring, saying he just walked away. Curly then says he's going to talk to him and that everything is going to be okay. Anya understandably doesn't respond. I don't think Curly is trying to diminish Anya's worries here. I think he just doesn't know how to respond to the situation. But unfortunately, in thinking that way, he unintentionally becomes an enabler to Jimmy, believing we aren't judged by our worst moments and that everyone can make right from their wrongs. Finding Jimmy, we tell him everything's going to be okay, but with Jimmy only caring about what's going to happen when they arrive. He then complains about everyone saying what a good captain Curly is, but Curly then says, "You've gotten through difficult situations before," implying this guy has done shit like this before. Fucking roach of a human. Then puts everything on Curly's back. We then finally get a view of Captain Curly, being told he's standing at the top with feet in cement, and that he finally gets it now. And now he'll take care of it. Emergency lights come on and we realize the wrongs of our lack of punishment. Rushing to the cockpit, we find Jimmy sitting outside, finally revealing we were playing as Jimmy when the ship crashed in the opening scene. Curly rushes into the cockpit attempting to save the ship, but being too late, the Tulpar ship crashes. Glitching to 1 hour before judgment. We are playing as Jimmy holding on to Curly. In a way, Curly got what he wanted. He's free from needing to make choices, as now he can't do anything, even needing the crew to open his mouth to take a pill, in a sense standing without feet in cement. We bring Curly to the common room where the crew's corpses are displayed sitting at the table. Placing Curly down, the crew applauses. We are now able to celebrate Jimmy's birthday, and with no cake in sight, we cut into the next best thing, Curly. So we grab a knife and begin cutting. I wonder what flavor it is. Jimmy complains again, talking about the corporate ladder and how he forgives the Captain Curly for getting everyone into this situation. Right, it's Def's his fault and only his fault, Jimmy. Finishing off his speech by saying let's eat, the game dissolves to take responsibility. Something Jimmy hasn't done once. A now broken down and bloodied medical room. With the vent now open, Jimmy jumps down and crawls his way through, finding a little Daisuke. Aw, look how cute he is. He walks away into the shadows and then we find a note telling Jimmy there's no turning back now, resetting you if you don't face your problems. Walking away from the items symbolizing Daisuke, reminding him that he's the reason Daisuke died from being forced into going into the vent. Walking away from his responsibilities literally, he ends up back into the halls of the Tulpar. We open the floor door and pass falling posters of Holly. Opening another door, we fall into a rotated medical room with only one way to go, a vent surrounded by axes. Passing through, we exit to a tied up Swansea. Picking up the gun, Jimmy fires, taking him to a graveyard with a picture of the deceased Daisuke. He realizes he's being chased down by Swansea. Running around the cemetery with an axe, Jimmy fires the gun at Swansea, and shooting him enough times,
I have something to say, so shut the fuck up and listen. I spent 13 years half cut up to my eyeballs drunk, to put it mildly. Then I suddenly saw it. A street light shining in my face. 500 gigawatts of the power of God. A vision of my bloated body found in some ditch. Scared me straight. So I got a college shirt, mortgage, a credit card, all the things that make a good man. I hoped I could raise my children to be better than their old man. I wanted to believe I was never one setback away from my worst self. But the truth is, discipline, drive, routine, the endless fucking desperation to get shit done, a loving wife, great kids, sobriety, I'm telling you, accomplishments I had made chasing all my life never felt as good as I expected when I crossed the finish line. So, now that we're at the end, taking inventory, those nights spinning out of my head, sinking into the sofa, broken glass in my palms, bleeding dry, the funniest thing ever. Old dogs laughing and snarling on the waterbed floor, mocking the moon for daring to show its face. Old nausea and wreckage and vomit and ugly cruelty. The only problem in the world, an empty bottle. Those were the best days of my life. Yeah. Those were the best days of my life. I got nothing to hide, ready to face the music. I can see myself for what I am, but you, a cowardly, selfish motherfucker, and you can't even see it. I should have been able to protect that kid. If I could have done one thing right, I wish I had been able to give him one small chance to get off this goddamn rock. Swansea, I'm going to fix everything. We're going to make it. Fuck you.
This is by far my most favorite moment of the game. Swansea saying everything in his life that made it worth living, being an honest man, just to be telling this to Jimmy, someone who doesn't care, someone who couldn't care less, and won't grow as a person. All met with a beautiful shot, uninterrupted with shots behind them only showing their silhouettes. Chef's kiss. Mwah. We dissolve into Swansea's dead body sitting on the chair, never being happy in a moment, always chasing goals only to never reach them. Daisuke's ability to live in the moment and find joy in even the smallest things is probably another reason as to why Swansea had such a sweet spot for him, even though he didn't really let it show. Exiting the room, we see Jimmy's sanity, or lack of sanity, as he walks throughout the ship and finds Curly head under the floor and his eyes sprawled on the walls, and then walks out of Curly's mouth and finds a horrific Curly head. He then finds a normal Curly pinned up with pipes sticking out of him, and his leg still missing from Jimmy cutting it off before, making the psychotic episode somewhat real. Watching the TV again, we are told to feast, but instead of Jimmy having a bite, we feed Curly a piece of himself. After figuring out the guest-style puzzle, Curly eats some of his own leg. Showing Jimmy inside the TV, the game puts us in a third person's perspective as we walk through space, with a burning Curly saying that he wants to go home, and Jimmy just saying, "We are home." Curly meaning he wants things to go back to the way they were, but Jimmy only wanting everything to stay as it is. Jimmy is in charge this way and doesn't have to worry about the repercussions of his actions if he stays on the Tulpar. Curly then says that Jimmy should finish what he started and own up to what he's done. I could have stopped it. I'm taking responsibility. Jimmy breaks down, but again avoids taking responsibility, saying what he's done was an accident, crashing the ship, sexually assaulting Anya, sending Daisuke off to his death, all an accident. Sure, buddy, sure. Jimmy says he's sorry to Curly and then glitches into the vents again. We find a thing and are given an ultrasound device and find little horses inside. Isn't nature beautiful? Scanning all the babies, eyes appear on the sides and a mouth opens up to a monstrous creature running out. A Of course it was a mouth. What did you think it was? Crawling up to the monster, we find it's an augmentation of Polly statues formed to make a centipede-like creature. Avoiding Polly, we make our way to the vent and eventually get caught. However, finding ourselves in front of the door, we open it. Having the crew's ID tags sprawled along the hall, and mouthwash bottles falling from a staircase, we find Polly. Haunting Jimmy, he then says,
Polly says,
Jimmy finally admits that Curly is a better leader than him, saying that he can still fix things, believing that if he saves Curly as well, it will redeem him for his actions so far, saying that he is taking responsibility. Personally, I don't think he is. I think he just wants to think he's still a good person, and the only way left to have that is to save the person he doomed to live out his life in misery. Glitching to the table again with 0 hours before judgment. Jimmy picking up the former Captain Curly and brings him to the utility room, and puts Curly into the only working cryopod. It's okay, Curly. You're going to be okay. You always had my back. I ended up hurting you even though I was trying to save us, but now you'll survive. It's like you always said, together we can fix anything. I'm just proud I got to be your friend and co-pilot. Captain, no one can hurt you now. We fixed it. I fixed it. And with that, Jimmy blows himself off screen and Curly is frozen to presumably never be saved. So that's mouthwashing. Having the crew's specific objectives unclear, it makes the player unclear on who to trust at points of the game. And the team behind the game wanted the player to be forced into playing as the dickhead Jimmy, to see what they might see in themselves and if they had any resemblance or empathy towards Jimmy, to see if they could relate to his jealousy, insecurity, selfishness, or aggressiveness, having all this lead back to the phrase at the start of the game. I hope this hurts. Almost referencing Jimmy's lack of empathy. And one last thing I wanted to mention is that every death that happens throughout the game is all inside of Curly. From Daisuke's axe, Anya's ODing next to him, and Jimmy's off-screen death. The only one Curly didn't see directly was Swansea. This game is mentally brutal to the crew of the Tulpar, and in a strange way, I love it for that. Playing this game was such a treasure to experience, and I implore you to play it too if you haven't already. There's a few jokes and moments I left out, so there's still a few new things for you to see. And to the people that made it this far into the video, thanks for watching. And if you have any other games or other media you want me to make a video on, tell me in the comments. Alright, bye for now. Bye bye.